It's Brainwash with Dr. Tom and Guitar Picks with Brad Reaves. Neil Young, Old Man.
Neil Young, being Canadian, I can't just say him. I chose him, but I could have very easily have chosen Stephen Stills. Mm-hmm. Then you match that up with a voice that sounds like he's never going to hit the high notes, but somehow always does that. Oh man, take a look at my life, I'm a lot like you. I need someone to love me the whole day through. I look at my eyes and you will see it's true. Oh man, look at my life, I'm a lot like you. Oh man, look at my life, I'm a lot like you. You know, he had that kind of muting. It's a muting thing with the right hand that really does it. A huge influence. When Crosby, Stills, and Nash played at Woodstock, and I saw Sweet Judy Blue Eyes done the way they did it, with just Stills banging away. You know, this was no a little folk song. This was rock and roll. This was rock and roll played on a 6-string, you know, and whoa, you know. And in fact, Stills, one of the songs that I still do of his is 4 and 20, which is was one of the first altered tunes that I learned, and mm-hmm. He drops the 2 E strings down to D, and I've seen it called D-modal tuning, but, you know, that may be it. Drop D tuning is another term for it, but nevertheless, he really, really played fingerstyle stuff very, very well. Loved his stuff, still do. And Neil Young was another one. Well, Neil Young brought something else to the party when he joined the band. He had this way of... that kind of thing, you know? And the one I chose was Old Man. He uses his nice melodic sense, and he breaks into this acoustic kind of rock thing that really moves with one guitar. In fact, I've got a lot of songs where I use that kind of technique, but here's one. It's a nice guitar lick, and... called Second Time Down. Interestingly enough, you hear that muting. Interestingly enough, on the piano, you have a dampening pedal and a sustain pedal, and by using these 2 pedals, you're able to create more effects with the instrument. On the guitar, you can do a similar thing by muting with the heel of the right hand, and also a combination of using the fingers on the left hand. And it creates some nice effects. You know, another thought I had, Tom, when I was putting my list together and trying to chop it down to 20 songs for you, that dawned on me. I've been calling the play-by-ear style the verbal style. I've had a lot of students who feel inferior because they don't read music. Mm-hmm. You know, they asked B.B. King if he could read music, and he said, yeah, but not enough to hurt my playing. But, you know, and I try to tell these students that it's just as valid playing by ear. Mm-hmm. It's just a different approach. I have known a lot of trained classical musicians that couldn't sit down and improvise across in anything. Even if you showed them the scale and they knew it inside and out, still could not do it. So to me, it's just a skill, and it's important to know as much as you can about all of it if you want to be a musician. But it dawned on me that the guitar, this is the guitar's time. in my generation, I've seen it go from, although I didn't know it at the time, but I don't know when Les Paul invented the electric guitar, but it was in the 50s, I think. Mm-hmm. And that's what created rock and roll, because before that, the guitar was an instrument that was as big-bodied as possible, put in the back of the cowboy band so that it was just adding a bang-away rhythm, or it was in a big band. It never soloed because you wouldn't hear it if it did. Mm-hmm. So then when they came out with the electric guitar, of course, it became a solo instrument, and what you ended up with was Chuck Berry and great licks like... that could carry as good as a bank of saxophones in a big band. Mm-hmm. I mean, it had a lot of punch when it was turned up. And then, of course, you ended up with musicians like Hendrix and like Ray Davies is the Kinks, actually, which I was going to put one of their songs up. First grunge tune I ever heard in my life. You really got me. You really got me. And it was a toss-up between that and Louie Louie, mm-hmm. you know. And then I've got this Ray Davies record that I'll give you that's got them doing Louie Louie on it, which I thought was very appropriate. You know, this was way before Kurt Cobain, and very raw and great. And but the distortion started happening by they were overdriving the equipment, basically, and standing close by it to get feedback and sustain. Well, then the electronics engineers came along and started to do that electronically by creating effects boxes of different kinds. And mm-hmm. I remember a theory teacher saying to me at Western, it kind of has stuck in my mind. She said, remember the theorist, the music theorist comes after the musician. Mm-hmm. So the music comes from a creative place, and analyzing it is a linear activity. Mm-hmm. Well, the same way with these engineers. Hendrix probably didn't spend a whole lot of time balancing his checkbook. Most likely not, you know, but he was so creative. A lot of these cats, the Kinks, when they recorded Really Got Me, took a guitar speaker and slit it with razor blades mm-hmm. to get that sound. Mm-hmm. And I'm sorry, but that's a good sounding guitar. You know, it sounds great to me still. And that's what these effects boxes are, all ways to do those things at a lower volume, and mm-hmm. some of them still don't sound as good as an old Fender amp or an old Marshall turned all the way up. It's just
11.
To 11, precisely to 11. And but it's the guitar's time, and we're seeing this technology. And I thought for a while that maybe the electronics would push it aside, but I don't think so. Mm-hmm. Not yet, anyway. Mm-hmm. It's too expressive, and the way you hold it, you hug it. You hug a guitar when you do, literally. You've been listening to the sounds of the Dr. Tom Show right here from Brown Summit, North Carolina. We're going to be taking a little break here, but we'll be back when you least expect it. That's right. Is it Brown Summit with an S, or is it Brown straight up? We never will know, I'm afraid. We just never will know. But we're going to say goodbye to you, and thanks for listening.